Gas chambers. Two words I'm sure many of us will recognize. The Holocaust, an event that took place, an event we learn about but thankfully have never experienced. Betrayal and heartbreak, hope and then crushing realization. All feelings that people going into those gas chambers could have felt. When we learn about the Holocaust, whether that be from a history class or from a movie like I did at a young age, we cannot relate to what they went through at that time. It's impossible to. But what we can do is ask how it happened, why it happened, and at least partially try to understand what they felt going into those chambers. Last summer, I took a Holocaust and genocide class. And in that class, I had to watch documentaries, read a book written by Professor Robert Galady, and even read a bit of a book that was written by two of the Holocaust survivors. And with all those sources at my fingertips, I learned very quickly that those gas chambers were a painful death and were nowhere near peaceful. That the road to those chambers was also fraught with pain. When we blame people for the Holocaust, we oftentimes only look at Hitler and the higher ups. Now, do not get me wrong, they were definitely at fault, but so were some of the Jewish people's neighbors. See, according to the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, the Jewish people were being persecuted long before they were dragged out of their homes. Finance officials were raising taxes, but only for the Jewish people simply because they were Jewish. And when the Jewish people were dragged out of their homes and from everything that they ever knew, their neighbors stood silently by, and some of their neighbors even benefited from their persecution. See, with the Jewish people gone and the Jewish business owners gone, the non Jewish business owners would benefit from that because they didn't have as much competition anymore. The Jewish people were ripped out of their homes, their neighbors watched it happen, and they were taken away from everything they ever knew. But that would not be the only pain they'd have to go through. According to Lenin, Stalin, and Hitler, The Age of Catastrophe, written by Professor Robert Galady, not everybody that was taken to the work camps or death camps like the infamous Auschwitz were killed right away. Some able-bodied young men were kept alive to work in the camps and keep them running. But even if they were kept alive, they were not alive long. According to the book, they had a life expectancy of a few weeks, even just a few days, because they were worked and starved. In the book, Robert Galady quotes Robert Heiberg, who, according to the USHMM, was a Austrian-born Jewish American. Heiberg states that he believes that at the very least 1 million Jewish people were killed in the Holocaust. One of those people being this boy, István. I got this picture off the USHMM website, and it was given to them by István's older brother. István was 4, and a few days after this picture was taken, he would be killed. The people that were killed and taken straight to the gas chambers, some of them didn't even know they were going to die. According to Auschwitz.org, the guards would tell the Jewish people to take off their clothes and to leave all their possessions behind because they were going to take a shower. So they take off all their clothes and leave their possessions behind and go in that chamber. And when those chambers shut, that was the end. According to Jennifer Rosenberg, the gas chambers were painful, physically painful, not just mentally. See, those chambers were filled with poisonous gases. the Jewish people did not peacefully die in there. According to Rosenberg, they would scratch and push and pile up on top of each other, trying to get that last breath of fresh air. One of those gases that was injected into the chambers was called Zyklon B. Zyklon B was a pesticide that was used to kill bugs and rats. Yes, they injected a pesticide to kill the Jewish people. Once those chamber doors shut, that was the end. In conclusion, the Jewish people were betrayed by their neighbors. They were forced to work in camps. And then a lot of them were forced into those gas chambers and killed. Then their bodies were cremated, and their possessions were the only things left behind. Like these shoes, for instance, that I found on remember.org. Oftentimes, we can forget that this happened because we never experienced it. Some may say, oh, it's so far in the past. A lot of the survivors have died. Why do we need to remember? One of my favorite quotes is by George Santayana, and it says, if we don't remember the past, then we will be condemned to repeat it. If we forget and push it back, then I dread the horrors that await us in the future. Thank you.